You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Need to Know Pod. I'm your host, Chef Sahera. Today is episode 1 of our new series, Building a Baking Business from Scratch. I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about how to build a baking business from scratch. So let's start from the beginning. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about building the foundation. So of course, if you love to bake, it sounds so easy to say, I want to make this a business, but let's start from the basics. So building a business is kind of like making a cake. You need all the ingredients to be in place for it to come together. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We are laying the foundation for building your business. So before I get started, so just know the information that I cover in here can be applied to any business. So let's start with your why. Why do you want to start a baking business? Is it because you like baking? Is it because everybody tells you should be baking? Let's start with your why. I think it's important to figure out your why. So when you think about starting your business, think of your why. Why do you want to start this business? Do you want to share a family recipe? Do you want to what are you passionate about when it comes to baking or cooking or whatever the business is? So again, I'm talking about baking business, but you can apply it to anything. I started my baking business because to me, I always enjoyed the comfort that my food brought to people. And I know a lot of people don't bake. So when I also learned how to bake, I saw that people were interested and were willing to pay for it. So I wanted to share the things that I could bake that your average person, your average supermarket won't sell. So when I started my business, specifically my brick and mortar, I was fulfilling a need. The need that I felt like I was fulfilling was that in my neighborhood, I couldn't get gourmet desserts or treats or sweets in my community. I couldn't get a freshly baked croissant. I couldn't get rugula. I couldn't get, more specifically, I couldn't get it from people that look like me. I couldn't get coffee. I didn't want to always go to a Starbucks. I don't drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but I also sold gourmet coffee. So when I decided that I wanted to open up a baking business, not just selling from my home, but a brick and mortar, the need that I was fulfilling was that there was nobody in my community selling the baked goods that I grew up with. No one was selling sweet potato pie. No one was selling, not really even a fresh baked apple pie to the extent that it was quality in like a gourmet product with fresh baked crust. My mother was getting apple pies from Costco's. So I wanted to deliver a product that was had the gourmet taste. When I say gourmet, fresh ingredients, freshly baked, nothing, no canned ingredients, everything made from scratch. As well as the coffee. I like coffee and baked goods. So I wanted some place that I could grab a good freshly baked pastry with coffee. And that just was not available in my community. That was my why. So what's your why? Ask yourself, what is your why? So when you think about your why, this is going to guide every decision that you make about your business. Every decision that you make. It can't just be random. I want to create a business. So I actually teach my clients the business behind baking. The business behind baking, because it's not enough just to have a baking skill. It's not enough to know I make a great pound cake. How do you turn it into a business? Some people just sell pound cakes. Some people just do wedding events or sell occasion cakes. Although I can make occasion cakes, my passion was a variety of cakes, pastries that go well with coffee, pastries that pair with coffee. Like I love coffee, so I don't want to drink crap coffee. So I wanted a quality coffee that paired with my pastries. That was my vision. One thing that you need to consider is when you're thinking about starting this business, who's going to be your customer? Now, when it comes to baking, who has been purchasing your items? Are they family members? Are they friends, co-workers? Your friends, family, and co-workers aren't enough to support your business venture. Believe me when I tell you, they are not going to be able to support your venture. So you really want to think of who is your client? For me, just thinking back, I remember thinking I wanted the kind of client that was willing to or was able to purchase a latte, who was able to purchase a higher end coffee brand, not deli coffee, right? So my coffee wasn't 50 cents or a dollar, right? So I wanted a more sophisticated customer. My customer was more sophisticated, so to speak, if that makes sense. When you figure out who your customer is, and this is something that they don't teach you in culinary school. Well, when I was going to school, let me say, they did not teach this in culinary school, but you have to understand who your customer is. You cannot create a product and think that you're going to sell to everybody. I've spoken to people who have baking businesses or were looking into start baking businesses. And one of the questions I would ask is, who do you want to buy your product? And if they say, if the answer is everybody, well, that just can't work, right? You cannot make a product for everybody. You cannot, because ultimately, when you start to market your product, you have to market to them differently. I can't sell a slice of cake to an 18-year-old the same way that I would sell a slice of cake to someone who is 48. It's just very different. So you have to be very clear on who your customer is. Yes, an 18-year-old may eat it, but I probably want their parent to be my customer. The next thing I want to discuss is I think it's important to define a niche. In the baking world, there's so many people that can bake. Or at least let me say there's so many people who sell baked goods. I will say that. There's so many people that sell baked goods where you need to be able to stand out amongst the many. When I started baking, everybody wanted red velvet cake. That was the hottest thing. Here in New York, there was a guy called Cake Man Raven. Everybody wanted a cake from Cake Man Raven. So anytime I get a request, it was red velvet, red velvet, red velvet. But how do you make yourself stand apart from the average person selling red velvet? So whatever it is that you want to bake, if you're selling cupcakes, for me in my shop, I made a conscious decision that I wouldn't sell a regular cupcake. All of my cupcakes were specialty cupcakes. I knew I wanted to sell pastries that pair with coffee. I sold cupcakes, but I didn't sell a regular chocolate cupcake with vanilla icing. I didn't sell a vanilla cupcake with vanilla icing or chocolate icing. That was just anybody could do that if you ask me. I know people who were using box cakes and decorating them and making them all fancy with fondant, and it was just a box cake. So I was very passionate about the taste. People can tell when your stuff is made from scratch. So I was passionate about bringing those great flavors, but with a little flair to it. So I would make specialty cupcakes. An example of my specialty cupcake would be like an Oreo cupcake. What did that look like? A chocolate cupcake with a vanilla icing. I would stick the Oreo on top because the presentation is everything. So that's one thing that I would make. I would make a lemon cupcake with a lemon curd filling. The lemon curd was actually infused into my cake as well. So that's just an example of me making specialty cupcakes as opposed to regular cupcakes. When I say think about your niche, what is it that's going to set you apart? Some people just sell cheesecakes. Are you going to specialize in cheesecakes? I will tell you, most people can't bake everything, right? They may know how to bake. Oh, I bake pound cakes and cheesecakes. I have a client who she was selling her cheesecakes as well as her Latin heritage and selling cakes that had Latin flavors to it. So that was her niche. She said because it wasn't available in her community. Also, do you just want to sell, like I said, occasion cakes? Some people only do wedding cakes. Some people only come to do set up and do occasion cakes, like a baby shower or a wedding or a graduation. Some people only make cookies. Some people specialize in selling decorative cookies, which takes a lot of time, but this is what they sell. You may want to consider selling vegan items. Some people only sell vegan items. Some people only sell gluten free items. Some people only sell, I don't know, maybe breads, like a bakery that sells only freshly baked breads or bagels, or, you can have just bagel shops. So think about what it is that you want to sell. I often tell my clients that they need to have a food superstar. And I'll get more into that a little later because now we just want to focus on the business. But just because you make something, you really want to make sure that it's worthy of creating a business from it. So we'll get back into that. But think about what it is that you want to sell. Yes, I can make 10 different cakes. I can make strawberry shortcakes. It has to be a special request, but I don't really offer making those because I don't want to make every cake. But that's just me. That's just me. So it's up to you to determine what you feel like is going to be your niche. Do you want to make like I said, cheesecakes? Some people just sell rugula. Some people just sell, again, even if it's in whatever industry you want to be in, what is going to set you apart also? Because if everybody's doing the same thing, take the hair care industry. So many people are selling hair care products for natural hair, curly hair. What sets you apart from everybody else? So those are just some things to think about when you are thinking about starting a business slash baking business. Also, just starting out, you can always expand on that. When I opened up my shop, we were selling the pastries, the muffins, morning pastries, more specifically, muffins, cinnamon rolls, apple turnovers, like crumb cake, again, stuff that paired well with coffee. So in the beginning, we were just really doing pastries and coffee. So I also want you to know that you can build your business. As time went on, I started introducing our brunch menu, and that really took off. So then not only was I known for my pastries and my coffee, I was also known for the Sunday brunch. People would come and know, like, okay, we could get some chicken and waffles. And after that was a hit, we did the shrimp and grits. We also did, I also did red velvet chicken and waffles. So it wasn't a huge menu. Sometimes I would have specials, but I was able to expand my niche. People weren't selling shrimp and grits in my neighborhood. People weren't selling chicken and waffles in my neighborhood. So this is, I felt like I filled the gap. But I also want you to know, once you start out, you don't have to start out with the whole plan altogether or the whole menu altogether. Get started, and perfect that. And then you can start adding on. You see what's working, what's not working. And also, you kind of get an idea of what your customer is asking for. You may think that I sell a pound cake, I don't know, a red velvet pound cake. How many people are asking for that? And just because you put a red velvet cake in a bundt pan doesn't make it a red velvet pound cake, truth be told. But nonetheless, but if that's the thing you're selling, maybe somebody wants red velvet cakes in a bundt pan. That could be a thing as well. Just saying. But some people sell variety of pound cakes. Just saying. So another thing that you want to start to do is you're gonna have to do some research. You're gonna have to do some research on your product, but also on the market. You need to have some kind of analysis on the market. What kind of customers are in your area? What kind of do you have similar businesses in the area? I'll tell you, when I opened up, there wasn't a Starbucks in that area. Nobody was selling gourmet coffee. The minute I opened my door, it seemed like a coffee shop was popping up. Everybody made it their business to tell me that, you have another coffee shop opening up. Oh, there's a coffee shop over here. Well, nobody opened up. So I did my research. When I opened up, there was nobody selling coffee. All of a sudden, this is just a whole nother podcast. What happens when you are the only let's leave it at that. And then just it comes with entitlement from others, I'll say that. But yeah, so just know that you want to see what businesses are in that area. You want to, of course, think about the location, but this is just in terms of if you're looking for a brick and mortar. If you want to sell stuff online, it comes with some of the same strategies, but a little different. Some are slightly different. So yeah, you want to think of what kind of customers are in your area. Can you sell your product? If you are in a community that doesn't have a lot of disposable cash, does it make sense to sell a high ticket item? Does it make sense to sell a coffee for $3? Are they going to be able to buy it? So I actually was in a diverse neighborhood. So yeah, there's that. So when you start a business, a lot of people, I know when I started thinking, oh, I have to get a business plan. I have to have a business plan. And we're talking about so long ago. But first, if you want financing, you need to have a business plan to show to the bank. That's number one. But secondly, you need to have some things in order. I like a business plan because I believe it's like the roadmap to where you want your business to be. So the first thing you want to think about is what are you going to sell? That was a key part for me. What are you going to sell? It's not enough for me to say I want to sell baked goods. I needed to know I wanted to sell muffins. What kind of muffins? I wanted to sell cinnamon rolls. What kind of cinnamon rolls? I wanted to sell coffee. So all of these things had to come in place. Not just I want to sell coffee. Where am I going to get my coffee from? Where am I going to get who is going to be my distributor? All these things that really I had to learn like really the hard way because I didn't have a reference point. I didn't have anyone to ask. So my son is in management in the food industry. So his input, let me just say, his input was very helpful, just in terms of passing all the health code requirements. Because that he knows that like the back of his hand, because the restaurants that he runs has to pass, the health inspection. So it's one thing for me to tell you about food safety, but now, when the health department comes in your location, the specific things that they are looking for. So, all of these things you need to kind of consider. First, what are you going to have on your menu? Again, let's go back to the food superstar. I think that people, just because your friends and family like something that you sell, you think you can create a business. And that's not always the case. Just because you like it or your family likes it, I would do actually what I would call like focus groups, right? I would let people or tastings. I would have tastings. When I speak of food superstar, it's an item that you sell that you have perfected, that you feel comfortable, 100% comfortable selling, knowing that everything is tastes good. You can mass produce it as well. You can package it. All of those things need to be in place. So the one thing that I knew I wanted to sell was cinnamon rolls. I hadn't yet perfected my recipe, so it was touch and go. I went through a lot of recipes before I perfected it. Once I perfected it, so I thought, then I had to tweak it. So these are things that you need to know. You can't just open up the door and say, okay, we have cinnamon rolls. Not really sure how much to charge for it. Again, you also want to do like your market research. All the items that I was selling, no one was selling in my neighborhood. And you would think that, you have bakeries, but where I live in Staten Island, most of the bakeries, I would say 100% of the bakeries, well, that's a high percentage. Let's say 85% of the bakeries are Italian bakeries. That's not what I eat. So, that was fine for the people who live out here. They could easily go to they had a choice of bakeries. But if I wanted a red velvet cake, yes, these bakeries are making them, but are they making them like our community likes to eat them? You couldn't even find a sweet potato pie in Staten Island, a fresh baked sweet potato pie. It just was not. It's just not a thing. You couldn't find banana pudding in Staten Island. You still can't find it. Truth be told, yeah, you still can't find it. You actually, they have Magnolia's banana pudding, but people think that's the best. And it might be good to some people, but I know I wanted a place that people in my community could buy banana pudding that kind of reminded them of their family back in the days eating banana pudding, not just randomly. We have to go into the city to get magnolias and however they make it, but I wanted to create flavors that we were more accustomed to. So now you got to think about your products. Once again, you have to think about who's going to buy it, because you need somebody to buy the products. So you need to think about that. And ultimately you want to start thinking about how you're going to advertise to these certain people. Again, my client was a little more sophisticated. They had a little more disposable income. And actually what ended up happening, we started to be able to connect with and actually my ideal customer was our local politicians and business owners, and again people with disposable income. And actually my spot became a place for people to be able to relax, unwind, because it just wasn't it just wasn't a place out here for us. There wasn't a place in Staten Island for people in my community to go and relax and lounge. We always had to go to other places. So yeah, so try to think about who you want to sell to, who your ideal customer is. So also you want to kind of think about where you want your business to go and the steps that you're going to take to get them there. One thing I know that I didn't include or think about when I was planning was how to market my business. That just wasn't a thing. In culinary school, I believe they teach you to work for people. So once you come out, you don't know what it is or how to go about starting a business and marketing. So I had to learn the whole marketing game, and I actually learned about that. I would say after the pandemic, I learned more about marketing, but I also had an assistant who helped me market. So we were able to make connections. So she did a lot of the outreach for me. But if you don't know, you don't know. And I was blessed to have this young lady working with me to be able to do that outreach. And we made a lot of connections. So that was good for the business as well. But also, you need to understand how you're going to market your business. I have a Facebook community of bakers or people who are passionate about baking. And I don't believe that they see the potential of having a baking business. They just, it's okay to sell at home. That's fine. And nowadays things are so different. But also, I want you to know that you can have a brick and mortar. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. There's so many things that I would change. That I would do differently, just knowing what I know now as opposed to when I first opened up. So, in the next episode, I'll be telling you everything that you need to know to operate your business legally so you can avoid any potential lawsuits, pitfalls. So, again, this is really like the business behind baking. So, it's not enough to just learn how to bake, it's not enough that you have a baking skill. Running that business is a whole nother skill set. So that's what we're going to go into just throughout the series. But in the next episode, we'll talk the legalities of running a baking business. This was episode 1 of Building Your Baking Business from Scratch. If you have any questions for me, feel free to submit them to needtoknowpod@gmail.com. Or you can send me a DM on my other platform, Chef Sahera Speaks. I would love to hear from you and share your experiences. If you are interested in starting a baking business, let me know. What questions can I answer for you? If you have a specific question about baking, a baking business, also again, submit your questions to needtoknowpod@gmail.com. So that's it, guys. Be sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow us and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Need to Know Pod with me, your girl, Chef Sahera. As always, guys, thanks for listening, and I can't wait for you to tune into the next episode.
You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you.